Okay, good morning. This is our GRG meeting. The date is January 22nd, 2022. And today we're going to be showing how to use the aging data analysis metrics system. And we're going to take it, well, last time we showed some data and how to use it, and the data was already populated. But today we're going to show you, as if you're a new user, how to populate the data and then how to see some of the features and use them. So I'm going to share my screen. And this is the opening screen. If you go to agingmetrics.org/atoms, it will automatically take you to the main page, the default page. And this talks about some of the things that the system can do for you. Visualize progress over time, digitally store lab report data, calculate Levine Horvath phenotypic age. That's a very handy tool if you haven't used that already. We'll talk about it today. It extracts the data from PDF lab reports and drops them into a database. I mean, in days gone by, we'd have to enter all this stuff. And I've seen some systems come and some of them come and go that extracted data. But this system does it virtually flawlessly. It has a charting function where you can see visually what's going on with various markers over time, takes out the spreadsheets, shifting through lab reports. With my help, you would be able to download all your data to a CSV file for statistical analysis. And the data itself would be used to analyze and understand and improve our use of age management therapies. So to log in, you can either click this link or go up to the login. And I'm going to show a brief recap of already populated data, just so you see the end result. And this is the account for Marcus Welby. He was a big TV doctor back in the ancient days. So some of us still remember him. So he has an all-star cast of patients: Christian Barnard, Clara Barton, Niels Bohr, Marie Curie, Leonardo da Vinci, etc. And when you click on any patient, you will see their data on the right, for example, or their profile, I should call it. And this is their name, date of birth, comments. These are self-explanatory. Allergies, that can be very important. Gender, you can enter any gender you want or leave it blank, I don't care. All these other things. And then it gets into asking what aging intervention therapies you've tried. These text boxes are all expandable. You can type a lot of data in here. What were the before, just a summary of the before and after results, etc. You can go in and read these for yourself, but if you're going to use the system, we really need you to fill this out. I mean, it's no big deal. It's the same thing you would fill out if you go to see a new doctor. Okay, so Christian already has some data. We are on the subjects page now. You'll see how this would look for your system later. But let's look at a timeline for the various biomarker tests and lab report results, plus therapies, and plus some notes. So this is all of the entries that have been made into the system. They are listed by date from left to right. And there are three kinds of things. One is a measurement. measurements have a white background. When you enter a therapy, it's color coded with a light blue background. And if a note is entered, that's color coded with, I guess you'd call that goldenrod. So over time, Dr. Barnard had, this looks like a CBC metabolic panel plus CRP. Here's some comments about it. Here is also at the same day, or about the same date, there was DNA methylation done. This is the information. This is the phenotypic age and CRP and etc. Okay, then he started a therapy aerobics training. Then 13, 14 days later, another set of lab work. And if we just look at this, we can see phenotypic age reduced somewhat, okay. CRP went down somewhat, etc. Albumin increased somewhat. That's a good thing. Okay, it's useful to be able to see this. We wish we had a chart, and we will. And here's a note. In this case, the doctor entered this information for him. He was about to start a 2-week travel and work schedule. It would be very demanding. And that I've learned through personal experience. Such traveling, living out of hotel rooms, having your schedule upended, sleep disrupted, not your same access to food and exercise rooms in these hotels can be some are pretty good, others are not so good. It can be kind of disruptive. Still, later upon return, or maybe while traveling, he began this therapy, and then this is a series, so it was completed here in more measurements. Okay, wonderful. Let's take a look at, well, before we do that, when you use that, there is a docs page, and this is kind of neat. This is where you will upload your PDF lab reports or any kind of document. It can be a Word document or a text file or whatever. But these have been already uploaded. It's a simple process to upload them. But if they're PDFs, you can view them in the PDF viewer. And you can make this larger. So for everything that is in the timeline or everything that's loaded into the database, you really want to be able to refer to a corresponding original lab report. So you can also download any of these, or you can delete them. Let's say I delete this. Well, wait a minute, you sure? No, I really don't want to. Okay, let's move on to the charts. Now, sometimes this is, let me try something. Okay, there you go. Sometimes it has just a little bit of a hiccup. It's a computer, and there's a lot of processing going on to create this chart. Some of it is on the client side, as we say, going on apparently on your computer. And I found that in these Zoom meetings, there are, I rebooted before this meeting, but it draws a lot on resources. So sometimes I have to click it twice or it won't, really won't show. Yeah, it's doing that now. So let's go back. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a sample of, and I meant to cue this up, sorry. this works virtually flawless when you're not in a Zoom meeting. So here's an example of if I were to click the DNA methylation, this is what would show. If I were to, and here it puts the timeline on the right so you can refer to what you're seeing in the chart. Then phenotypic age, CRP, etc. So let's go back to this. I think CRP works. Sometimes I have to kickstart it. Well, okay, it's not going to do it in this Zoom meeting. So let's move on. So you're probably asking, how do we get the data in it? We will go to this page and I'll speak a little more about the details of what this does. And also we have another page where, recapping here, we'll actually do this, where we can also add their measurement data, but you'll see we'd rather extract the data from a lab report than have to enter all this, okay? But also we would go here to enter information about therapies, and we would enter a note, and we'll review what that is again. So now let's log out of this account and log in. Now we're really going to begin the topic of today's meeting, and log in as Johnny Personal, which is a fresh new account. And I've started to enter some of the information on the right. Now here is something kind of neat that I just added. If you want to have a group of individuals who are, say, 2, 3, or 4 of you are getting together on an informal pilot trial or just trying a therapy together and want to all track them as a group, you will be able to add other individuals. But let's cancel out of that. That's, you know, really straightforward. You'll just, and I had a question, how do you save this? Well, you save it by clicking the update button. Let's say I wanted to change the comments to, I don't know, some comments. I would update it here. So that's what saves it into the database. Simple, easy. Let's go to the timeline. Okay, there's nothing entered. Let's go back to the subjects, and that demonstrates that we saved some comments. Okay, and let's everyone mute our microphones, okay? Unless you have a question, then actually now would be a good time for me to ask. You know, we're going to go step by step now on how to do the things that you saw in the introduction. But are there any glaring questions? Have I left any you know, glaring omissions on my part, I should say? Okay, I see we have the chat here. Okay, who can, getting some feedback on someone's open microphone. Okay, unless you have a question or a comment, everyone please mute your microphones.
Johnny, may I ask you some question?
Yeah.
You know, just what I figure out lately, it's so important just to separate, you know, kind of aging markers and mortality markers. Because, you know, you can be just easily fight aging, but eventually just whatever, some problem, whatever you have pathology will kill you. So I don't know whether this system would address this type of things, because probably they have to be somehow separated. You have, for example, problem with the kidney. You will just kind of just getting younger by phenotypical age, but just whatever kidney problem will kill you. So whether just this kind of just taken care of in your whatever, what your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are first and foremost,
Can you
number one.
Can you hear me?
Pardon me? Are if you have a serious illness, go see a specialist, get it fixed. It's under your judgment with the advice of your physician, whether you would want to, what, if any, aging intervention therapies you would want to pursue while getting treatment for a disease condition, or whether you would want to discontinue it. But there are two components here, and I'll say cornerstones. One is that everything should be done under your physician's guidance and approval. The other is be 100% safe. Now, in the references, oh, by the way, the notes are saved as part of the recording. Okay, so, and I do hope we're still recording. Well, if not, we'll do this again. But in references, one of them is the Aging Intervention Program, System Therapies Metrics. And I go into this a lot. I highlight, so it's just easy to buzz through. I highlight the parts that I believe are most important, or would be most important to me. I start with a friendly disclaimer. This is not medical advice. These are things that I use in my age management program. They're for your consideration and for discussion with your physician. And it goes on to talk about a lot of things that, like the end results we seek. And we're going to get off this sidebar in a minute, but this is addressing a very critical thing that Eugene brought up, and some other things, core concerns: safety, self-reliance. Aging is 100% fatal. Nothing is risk-free. Driving to your doctor is not free of any risk. And then a lot of other useful things. So let's close that down. I would suggest that everyone read through that. But I believe that answers Eugene's question. And this is not intended to treat disease. I would suggest that you rely on, Eugene gave the example of a kidney problem, to rely upon your kidney specialist and her or his analysis of any biomarker data to facilitate your treatment, not on this system. And I think in the, I didn't mention, but in the login page, this talks about how your name and other identifying information will remain anonymous. But unless you give explicit permission to share it, I don't know why that would ever be necessary. But by using the system, you agree that we may analyze your data anonymously to advance the use and creation of aging intervention therapies. But, I think below this is, I'll put in a statement to the effect of, this is not to be used for the treatment of diseases. If you have a disease condition, go see your specialist and discuss with that specialist whether you would also do aging intervention therapies in tandem. So anyway, going back here, I had this preloaded with with my information. And any other questions before we move along? Nope. Okay. So now there's nothing in the timeline. Nothing's been entered. There are no charts. No documents have been uploaded, but we should make it a habit to first upload the raw documents into this section before entering them into the database. So we do that by choosing a file. We navigate to our file location, wherever it is on your computer. And let's pick, for example, this one. And the date of this, we want to also put the date in the description. I like the year first, then the month, then the day. Because when those files are in a folder, they sort in chronological order. And this, I also name files so that, or anything for that matter, because when I look at the name, I like to know what's in it, what it is. This is a CBC plus metabolic panel plus C-reactive protein. So let's upload this into the system. And there it is. Let's take a look at it. Okay, pretty cool. We can zoom in on that. On a PC, you zoom in. One way you zoom in, if you have a wheel mouse, is hold down the control key and move the wheel mouse. And so there it is. Now we're ready to move on to uploading some data. There are a couple ways to do this. The easiest, most comprehensive way is by clicking the Upload Calculate Phenotypic Age page. Now this will serve a couple of functions. It will allow you to extract the data from your PDF. So no more entering all this data into spreadsheets or whatever. And also it will set it up to be stored in the database. Also, this feature will allow you to calculate the Levine-Horvath phenotypic age. So let's first take a look at some scientific information and references about what this Levine-Horvath phenotypic age is about. So for anyone who wants to dive deep into the scientific papers, here is some links. Here is the phenotypic age calculation. You can learn more about all this. But basically, what they did is Morgan Levine, just an outstanding scientist, and I think she did this also with some assistance and input from Steve Horvath. They analyzed thousands of standard lab report data and correlated it with DNA methylation age. And it determined which of the markers and their relative amounts could be used to extract, to come up with what I'll call a surrogate for the DNA methylation age. And I've found the two track pretty close. They are not infallible, but in general, they track close. So it's a nice, very low cost way to get a DNA methylation age. Just the typical cost of DNA methylation age through My DNA Age is $299. You can have the 2 labs that are needed to do this through LabCorp, through Life Extension, but they're run by LabCorp for $77. Okay, and those measurements are the ones you see here, and to each of them a correlation coefficient or a multiplier is applied to come up with the final value. And here these arrows indicate whether a greater or lesser amount to a certain extent is better. For example, if your albumin is increased from one time, from one test to another, that's good. If creatinine goes down, that's good. And again, all of this is within limits. So if you want to read all about this, let's open the first scientific research study. And there you have it. So we'll close this down. So I kind of like to know whether it works in any kind of test or computation. One of the first questions I ask is, how much does it work? I mean, how do we know it works and how well? And another question is, what's the cost? And then there are some other questions like, will it always be readily available in the future if I start to implement this into my testing program? And there are some others. And that in that aging intervention program that I showed you initially, it lists those questions that I ask just as a practical basis for both lab tests as well as therapies. But moving right along, let's now choose a file to extract some data. So we're going back to the one that, remember, we want to upload the file first for reference in case we ever want to look at the file itself and, may find it difficult to find it in the future. And there it is. Now, right now, this processes 2 kinds of LabCorp lab reports. Right now, it does not process Quest or others. That will be an update if enough people really want it and need it and will use it. But the two kinds are the one that are purchased through Life Extension, which looks like this. It has the Life Extension logo on the top, and the one that you get directly from LabCorp. Here's a sample. It has the LabCorp logo on the top. This you might get from a doctor's prescription, and insurance might pay for this. Now, the two, you can extract any data that is on the CBC metabolic panel or CRP or creatinine or others, but to do the Levine Horvath phenotypic age, you must have the markers that we looked at in the pop-up I showed you: albumin, creatinine, CRP, etc. So to accomplish that, let's go to the lab tests that you need. So if directly from Life Extension, it's the chemistry panel and complete blood count. By the way, on the website, if you go to resources, here, it'll list the lab tests and some others. I'll show this to you later. Yeah, I'll show this to you now. This is recommended, and this is a little bit expensive, but it's comprehensive. Recommended is this Life Extension Age Management Panel. which you can order through this link, but the bare minimum for the Levine Horvath phenotypic age, which I urge you to do, you don't have to, but you need it. Through life extension, it's these two. Now, I also, well, where is it here? I had another one. Yeah, I'm going to have to update this page because if you get it directly from LabCorp through your physician's order, the CBC metabolic panel does not include creatinine. So you need to get that separately. So you need to get these three to run the Levine Horvath phenotypic age calculation if you get it directly from LabCorp through a physician's order. So here are some others. DNA methylation test, that's highly recommended. Ginfinity Aging SOS, particularly if you're going to be implemented NAD therapy or senolytic therapy. They contact me and we can talk more about this. I didn't want to go into a lot about that, but the prodrome scan blood test, I've found plasmalogen, specifically prodrome neuro, to be a valuable addition to my program, and we'll talk about that some other time. And I have some objective markers. I mean, they're not statistically relevant, but I think relevant to me, where I did some tests after starting the first dose and the second dose of the prodrome, and I was very pleasantly surprised at the results. So anyway, so those are where you get the lab tests. I'm going to update this to include the ones for Levine Horvath PhenoAge through LabCorp directly. But let's get back to uploading. Okay, it did not stick, so we're going to have to get it again. No big deal. And it is this one. Okay, so I've talked to you about the two, and we know this one I got through life extension. So you have to tell it which of the two formats it is. There may be an update someday where it'll sense it, it'll detect it automatically, but for now you have to tell it. Now, notice everything is blank. Let's extract some data and populate the marker values. Okay, this little red mark, there's not an error. This did it right. It just tells you to make sure, double check the values on your lab report, and also make sure that there is a C-reactive protein and also the creatinine values that were extracted. If they are not present, it will leave these blank. So we see my name, date of birth, test date, my chronological age, tick-tock, 71.57 blinks. I call them blinks now. Okay, here are, and it's separated these in different categories, the same as the lab report, for example, chemistries, lipids, immune, but also these phenotypic age markers, they're pulled from different categories, but it's such an important single category that for those, they're all up here. Okay, so let's find out my calculated phenotypic age. Oh my gosh, am I 71, 72, 80, 65, 25? Calculate. Okay, so it's telling me this according to this one calculation, which is, there are multiple ways of looking at biological age. This one is very, comprehensive, but still there are many. But I like this one because it tells me what I want to hear. That's a joke because I want to hear the way it is, but I just tend, we all tend to like the things that tell us what we want to hear. It tells me that I'm, 13, almost 14 years younger biologically than my chronological age. So, hey, I'll take it. If you study and read the paper, you'll see that the Levine Horvath calculation calculates some other things like estimated mortality score, Lincom, Mort score. You can dive deep into those if you want, but I like to keep it simple. Just what's this and how much younger am I, if anything? So now let's save this into the database so we can use it. I don't know, what comments might we have? I don't know. By the way, if we wanted to clear all this and run another one, we could, but don't click clear before you save if you want to save it. And by the way, this, which can be expanded, this puts everything in raw form from the lab report so you can inspect it. And it also lists the specimen number. That's important. There is a cross check so you can't upload the same report more than once. Okay, so let's click save. Bang, tells us it was saved to database. May I have another? Well, let's take a look at the timeline. Ta-da! So there's the first step. Now, this is serving as a baseline, and we notice that we had not entered the DNA methylation age. So the next thing we would do is click the Add Edit link. Here, if we click Add, we will see there are 3 kinds of things we can add that will display in the timeline. We can add another measurement, and let's just click on that. However, here we manually enter things, but here we may just want to enter a single entry, whatever's important to you, like DNA methylation age. And let's put something in here. Let's put, I'll just put 62 comments, Zymo. And now I have yet to perfect the error handling. So you have to be sure that you also enter some things or you'll get just an ugly error page. So I don't remember what the date was. Does anyone remember the date? 7/14/2021? So this might be, we might have had this on this date. I don't know, no comment. And click save. Okay, let's go back to the timeline. Ta-da, we have 2 entries. Now, it is possible to edit these. For example, here we have 2 entries, and at your discretion, if you don't want to have a lot of entries, you can edit these. You could have put that DNA methylation age in this box, and in the comments put 7/16, 2 days later. And what was the number? Anyone remember? I think it was 60, 64, whatever it was. And we can cancel out of this if we want, but let's try updating. And I hope I don't get an error here. Okay, good. Let's go back to the timeline. Oops, well, I didn't remember what it was, but here's this. So now let's say we don't want this hanging around. Let's go back to the edit. This is the first one. We can delete these. Are you sure? Well, yeah, it's just one entry. There's everything else is blank. Yeah, I want that out of there. This works better for me. Let's go back to the timeline. Okay, it's gone. Fantastic. It does drop the previous record into a saved, a history file. For our physicians, that's for audit tracking. So let's go here again. Now, if we add one, there's another thing that and I'm going to have to change this because we have to make this either small enough to see everything that's on the right or scroll down to the bottom. Because there's an extra scroll bar. So until I do that, just remember, there are two scroll bars. The one is the main one, but the one for this actual embedded data grid is what it actually is. That's on the right. So you'll have to scroll down and use both of them. So that's this, but here's another thing that you may want to use sometime in the future. Some people have lab work that is not on here that they want to track. So let's add a measurement. And I added 4 custom measurements. For example, I don't know, Berkeley Heart Lab, Empire Labs. This is where you enter the name, value, units, and a reference range. Units and reference range are optional, but you will want to refer to these when you look at it later without having to refer to the report. But remember, you're going to upload the original report in the document section. And this is where those would go. If you need any, this is a little unclear to some, so if you need some help later, just contact me. Also, this is a specific omega-3 index, which comes when you purchase the Life Extension Age Management Panel. So let's cancel out of this one, and let's add a therapy. So the date in this hypothetical one, we're going to go back to July. Let's say the next week. What's a typical therapy that we might start? Rapamycin. I don't know. The usual subjects. Well, no, that's a tricky one. I don't want to use that one. I don't know. Now, I want to be conservative. Hi. I don't know, purchased. Okay, By the way, I showed not a huge, but a pleasant reduction in Levine Horvath calculated phenotypic age after I started high intensity interval training. So just FYI, you have to be in pretty good shape to do that under a doctor's supervision. But so let's save it. Let's check the timeline. Okay, there it is. So now we are now going to have some more lab work. We're going to see what happened. Let's choose a later file. This one is actually a life extension age management panel, which is much more comprehensive. Okay. It was purchased through life extension. So let's extract the data. Nice. Okay. Calculate phen age. Okay. There's the difference. And I don't know. We might say didn't sleep well. I don't know. I don't know what comments you might make, but sometimes when I'm anticipating a lab test, I tend to, on rare occasion, not sleep that well that night. Just looking forward to getting blood drawn, I guess. Okay, so that is saved to database. Wonderful. Going to the timeline. Okay, so now we have something to compare. So, all right, hey, phen age dropped from 57.64 to 57.35. I'll take it. CRP, well, it went up a little bit. I don't like that, but albumin went up a little bit. That's good. And glucose, how's the glucose went down? Yeah, we like that. So, okay, useful to look at this in a chart in this text format, but let's see if the charts are working today. Just remembering this often doesn't work when my resources are strained. And let's check albumin. I'm going to kickstart this thing. Let's try some others. There. Okay, well, it did. I should have been more patient. It did load the albumin. Okay, I'm going to tell it to make a round trip to the server on my PC by holding down the control key and pressing F5. All right, there. So there's a little trick. Believe me, normally when I'm not on a Zoom call, this works almost flawlessly. So we see CRP increased. Well, I don't like that, but what about phenotypic age? Well, okay, we see it reduced a little bit. And in the future, I may make some improvements to this chart, but still, it tells you useful information you need. And also, on the bottom, hopefully everyone can see these yellow pop-ups. It will show us that there was a measurement done on this date, and then therapy done. And part of the message, high intensity something, but we'll remember that was high intensity interval training, and another measurement. So I see we have some things in the chat. Oh, am I going to charge for this service, make it a membership? Rest in peace, Dr. James Fries. well, another fallen comrade, but I do not intend at this time to charge anything for this. Donations to the foundation are greatly appreciated. That helps pay the overhead expenses. We had to get a special server. Well, it's not like special, but a different server than our usual one to host this and to facilitate the really robust functions. But I don't intend to make it a membership. And let me, I think we've covered most of the important parts. Let me explain to you, and we're going to get into a discussion portion and questions in a minute. But first, let me explain what my currency is these days. I usually have enough money to be happy, and I'm able to be happy with very little. You know, I can be poor as a church mouse, and you know, just look at the you know, out the window to my right and see the sky, the clouds, the trees. Just reminded how, you know, how we have, most of us, many of us have homes to live in that shelter us. You know, I'm just awestruck by all of the things that it takes to turn on a tap and have some running water, or heating and roads, cars, all those other stuff. Despite, you know, I know the huge problems in our worlds today, I approach it with gratitude, and, you know, if there is some something to express thanks to, just thankfulness. So more years is my current currency. I do so many things. I do have some things that I get paid for that, you know, hopefully will get continued, because it floats a couple of $1,000 a month that I pay for therapies and other things that are important in the in my own personal age management program. But you know, bottom line, make me young again, I'll pay you everything. So that's what that's about. So again, remember, in the login page, it says that I'm looking for data to analyze and improve our age management therapy approaches. And so that's one of the cornerstones about this, and a lot of other things I'm active in are about. I'm trying to think of any other key components to this. Feel free to contact me at any time. And I'm going to stop the screen share now. Oh, no, there is one more important thing. Notes. We may want to add a note or a freestanding comment. So here, we don't have to use the drop down. We can enter it. 07. Well, not if it's dropped down. And I don't know what a comment might be. Feeling better subjectively. So, okay. Looking and let's save it. Go back to the timeline. So there's that. So those are the three kinds of things that can be entered in. I have been extremely busy in recent months with an initiative that is the physician's counterpart to this, called Age Management Telehealth Physicians, where that involves one-on-one consultations with qualified age management physicians remotely through a telehealth video and audio portal, and the physician would prescribe a personalized age management program for the client. And that would soon be transformed into a clinical study, IRB approved. So that's taken up a lot of my time lately, and that again is the counterpart to what you saw today. And also a lot of other things, helping people. We have, well, let me express in my personal interests, there are two things. One is making best use of therapies that are available now. And
one of the best to mention.
Yeah, hypoxygen, hyperoxygen are on there, and collecting data and further refining my own program and helping others, and communication and collaboration. The other half of it, and those are with therapies that are available now or on the cutting edge. The other is developing new therapies that'll really, like you've heard the word moonshot. I'll call these, Alpha Centauri shots. Therapies that will gain us at least 15 years of increased healthy lifespan, but really the goal is open-ended healthy lifespan. And I know that may sound still to some conventional scientists and physicians like an unrealistic expectation, kind of fringe, but hey, shoot high, shoot for the stars. I'm well aware of what the chances are, but with the innovations that are coming recently and what's being done at, say, Altos Labs and other researchers resetting the epigenome to a more youthful state, or cellular reprogramming, DNA editing, and more effective senolytics, mitochondrial therapies, all those, there's some light. We got a shot at it. We just have to stay true to course and maintain the relentless charge. So one new initiative I'm involved with is a scientist who I've known for about 15 years. He has cut his teeth, oh gosh, in the 1960s. One of his first jobs early on was with Geron. So he has that business flavor to his science. He has recently developed a new therapy to reset stem cells to a neonatal state. And there are multiple applications for this, both for multiple diseases, but my interest in particular is treating, solving aging. So I'm working closely with him on, and I'll just say, anyone who is not going to immediately talk, please mute your microphone. And then when you're ready to actually talk, or I see Robert has his hand raised, then we can unmute. Okay, I guess that's everyone. So anyway, I've been working with him on his business plan, and I will be an integral part of that team. We're going to raise some money. The proof of concept will cost about $500,000. That kind of money is out there. Projects are getting funded, and I've been collecting a list of investors over the past several years, and I'm active in one circle of investors and others. So that's the more innovative Alpha Centauri shot programs is the other side of what I do.